You know, there's one question that sits underneath every other question we could possibly ask. Where did all of this come from? It's huge, right? It's the oldest and most profound mystery we've ever faced. For thousands of years, this was really the territory of philosophers and theologians. But what happens when we take the hard logic of science, the rules of cause and effect, and try to apply them to the very beginning of everything? Well, let's find out, because we're about to explore the very edge of what we think we know. In our world, the rules seem pretty straightforward. A ball moves because something hit it. A tree grows because a seed was planted. We live our entire lives inside this seemingly unbreakable chain of cause and effect. It's the most fundamental principle we know. Well, maybe. What if that fundamental principle completely breaks down at the ultimate scale? What if, at the very, very beginning, the rules were just totally different? This is where the logic starts to get really, really strange. Say, the moment we ask what caused the universe, we run headfirst into this massive philosophical brick wall. Because if the universe had a cause, then what caused that? And what caused the cause of that cause? You see the problem? It leads us down this dizzying rabbit hole, and it's created two major and completely opposite schools of thought. So, on one side, you've got the idea of a first cause, something that exists outside of our universe that just kicked everything off. And then, on the other side, you have the self-causing loop, this absolutely mind-bending idea that the universe could have, somehow, created itself. So, which one is it? All right, let's dive into that first argument. The people who back this idea say that to solve this crazy paradox, you just have to stop the chain. You can't have a line of dominoes that goes back forever and ever. It has to have a definitive starting point. The problem with an endless chain of causes is something called an infinite regress. And what's really fascinating here is the logical trap it sets. As one of our sources puts it so well, think about it. If you had to get through an infinite number of past events just to get to today, well, today would never actually get here. You can't cross an infinite finish line. It's impossible. So the big takeaway from this argument, the crucial point, is that to avoid this paradox, there must have been a first domino, one that wasn't pushed by any other domino before it. An uncreated first cause, as our source says, something totally outside of space and time that got the whole show started. But what if the problem isn't the chain of dominoes itself? What if the problem is our very definition of cause and effect? This second argument doesn't just bend the rules of causality, it basically throws them right out the window. Just think about this for a second. What if the Big Bang wasn't just the beginning of matter and space, but the beginning of time itself? If that's true, then the word before completely loses its meaning. You literally can't ask what happened before time existed because there was no before. This idea completely reframes the entire question of where it all came from. Our entire understanding of causality is linear, right? A cause happens, then some amount of time passes, and then an effect happens. But what if you yank time out of that equation? The whole concept just breaks down. And what are you left with? Well, you're left with this bizarre idea called simultaneous causality, where the cause and the effect could happen at the exact same instant. And that right there is the absolute core of this second argument. As our source points out, if cause and effect happen simultaneously, then the cause is actually inside the effect. And that means the universe could, logically, be its own cause, a perfectly closed, self-creating loop that needs absolutely nothing outside of itself to get started. Wild, right? Okay, so we've got two compelling but totally contradictory ideas, a first cause or a self-causing loop. But you know what? There is a third door, a far, far stranger one, opened by one of the most brilliant and eccentric minds of the 20th century. Everybody, meet John Archibald Wheeler. This guy was a legendary American theoretical physicist. He worked with giants like Niels Bohr and mentored geniuses like Richard Feynman. He wasn't just some participant in modern physics, he was one of its chief architects, and he was famous for asking the deepest, most mind-bending questions imaginable. Seriously, the man's mind was an idea factory. He was the one who popularized the term black hole. He came up with the terms wormhole and quantum foam, that incredible idea that space-time itself is a bubbling, chaotic sea at the tiniest possible scales. His work literally shaped entire fields of study. And look, when Stephen Hawking, of all people, calls you a hero, you know you're in a league of your own. But it was Wheeler's most profound idea that truly challenges the very nature of existence itself. So,
Wheeler proposed something so radical, it sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. He moved past the question of what created the universe, and instead, he started asking what role we play in it. He suggested that we're not just passive observers of some pre existing reality. Oh no. He suggested that we are, in a fundamental way, creating it. He called it the participatory anthropic principle. The whole idea starts down at the weird quantum level, where a particle doesn't really have a definite location until you measure it, right? Wheeler took that bizarre quantum rule and just applied it to everything. He scaled it up to the entire cosmos, suggesting the universe itself is brought into being by the act of us observing it.
I mean, stop and think about what that really means. Wheeler is saying that our observations today, right now, are helping to create the reality of the universe's distant past. The very act of us looking back at the Big Bang helps define the fact that the Big Bang even happened in the first place.
He summed all of this up with his famous mantra, it from bit. The it is every physical thing you can imagine, a particle, a star, space-time itself. And the bit is information, just the simple answer to a yes or no question. He was arguing that the physical universe isn't built from matter or energy, but from information, from the questions we ask of it. Now, as wild as Wheeler's idea sounds, it taps into a core truth of modern cosmology, what you could call the thesis of uncertainty. It seems the deeper we look into the universe, the more we realize that reality isn't this fixed, solid thing. It's probabilistic, it's fuzzy, and it might just depend fundamentally on the observer, on us.
So, all of this leaves us with one final, staggering thought to chew on. Maybe the question, where did the universe come from, has no single answer, because the universe isn't some finished story that we just happen to find and read. Maybe it's a story that's still being written, and maybe we are the ones holding the pen.